ask most people what their number one fear is, what do you think it is? Most people's number one fear is public humiliation. Okay.
Can you name one of Hollywood's most polarizing figures? Mel Gibson is definitely on the list. Love him or hate him, you can't ignore him. In an industry dominated by woke culture, Mel Gibson isn't backing down. Is he speaking the truth or just stirring the pot? Let's break it all down. Mel Gibson. That name alone stirs up controversy. He's had his ups and downs, from being an Oscar-winning actor and director to facing intense media backlash, but now Gibson is back in the spotlight and he's not pulling any punches. Hollywood's woke culture has been a huge topic of debate, and it looks like Gibson has a few things to say about it. So what exactly is woke culture? Let's start there. Over the last decade, woke has become a buzzword often representing heightened social awareness, accountability, and political correctness. For some, it's about inclusivity and progress, but for others, it's gone too far, stifling creativity and shutting down differing opinions. And here's where Mel Gibson enters the scene. Quick question, what's your take on woke culture? Do you think it's good for Hollywood, or is it hurting the industry? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Recently, Mel Gibson has been making headlines for comments that some would say directly challenge Hollywood's woke culture. While many stars play it safe, Gibson has been unfiltered, calling out what he sees as hypocrisy in the industry. According to Gibson, Hollywood's focus on being woke has shifted the spotlight away from genuine storytelling and creativity. Now you might be wondering, what exactly has Gibson said that's caused such a stir? Well, he's openly criticized the industry's approach to cancel culture, suggesting that Hollywood's current climate doesn't allow for redemption or growth. He's argued that actors and creatives are more concerned about saying the right thing than actually making impactful work. Do you think Hollywood's emphasis on woke culture has affected the quality of movies? But here's where it gets even more interesting. Gibson has a history of controversies himself, so some people say he's the last person who should be talking about Hollywood's flaws. Back in the 2000s, he faced severe backlash for controversial statements and personal issues. For years, he's been practically blacklisted, with very few willing to work with him. After being cast out, Gibson's return to Hollywood has been nothing short of remarkable. He directed Hacksaw Ridge, which won 2 Oscars, and proved he still had a place in the industry. But rather than trying to fit into Hollywood's new mold, Gibson seems more determined than ever to speak his mind, challenging an industry that once turned its back on him. Should someone with a controversial past be allowed to critique Hollywood's values, or does that make him a hypocrite? Gibson's perspective on woke culture seems to come from his own experiences of being cancelled before the term even existed. He argues that Hollywood has become overly judgmental, creating an environment where one wrong move can end careers. According to him, this focus on moral purity has turned Hollywood into a place where creativity is restricted and true artistic expression is being compromised. Imagine working in an industry where every word and action is scrutinized. Do you think you'd feel comfortable expressing yourself? Of course, Gibson's comments haven't gone unnoticed. Hollywood insiders and media outlets have had a lot to say. Some agree with him, claiming that the industry has lost its way, focusing too much on optics rather than quality. Others, however, argue that Gibson's views are outdated, accusing him of trying to cling to a time when Hollywood was less diverse and inclusive. Public opinion is incredibly divided. Supporters of Gibson argue that his stance is refreshing and that he's highlighting a problem that's been brewing in Hollywood for years. Critics, however, claim he's bitter about his past and projecting his personal issues onto a larger cultural movement. Do you think Gibson has a point, or is he just out of touch with today's world? Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Hollywood's shift toward woke storytelling has brought both praise and criticism. On the one hand, we've seen more representation and inclusion in films. On the other hand, some critics argue that these efforts have led to formulaic, predictable stories that focus more on sending a message than entertaining the audience. There's been a noticeable pattern. Some woke films that heavily push certain agendas have underperformed at the box office, while movies that stick to traditional storytelling seem to resonate more with audiences. Gibson's critics say he's stuck in the past, but his supporters argue that Hollywood's attempts to cater to woke culture has led to declining viewership. Do you think Hollywood movies are becoming too predictable, or do you appreciate the focus on social issues? Gibson is known for movies that explore human resilience, sacrifice, and raw emotion. Think Braveheart, The Passion of Christ, and Hacksaw Ridge. His storytelling focuses on universal themes which he argues are timeless. He believes that stories should resonate because of their emotional core, not just their social message. In Gibson's eyes, good storytelling isn't about aligning with the latest social trend. It's about digging into the depths of human experience, and he's expressed concern that Hollywood's obsession with being woke is overshadowing the art itself. He says stories are meant to challenge us, inspire us, and sometimes make us uncomfortable, but not for the sake of checking a box. Do you agree that Hollywood should focus on timeless stories, or do you think films should reflect the times we live in? So where does this leave Mel Gibson? He's clearly not afraid to speak his mind, even if it means ruffling some feathers in Hollywood. But can he continue to work in an industry that seems to be moving in a direction he doesn't agree with? And will his stance resonate with other creatives who might feel the same but are afraid to speak up? Some insiders say Gibson should start collaborating with smaller studios or independent filmmakers who are less influenced by Hollywood's woke standards. Others think he might be a leading voice for other traditional storytelling, appealing to audiences who feel the industry has left them behind. Either way, Gibson's journey isn't over, and his voice, whether you agree with him or not, is bound to keep making waves. If you had to guess, do you think Mel Gibson will go fully independent, or will he eventually reconcile with Hollywood's new culture? Alright everyone, that wraps up today's deep dive into Mel Gibson's clash with Hollywood's woke culture. Whether you're a fan of his views or completely disagree, one thing's for sure. Gibson's not afraid to challenge the system, and in an era where so many play it safe, he's willing to take the heat. But what about you? Where do you stand in all of this? Do you think he's got a point, or is he just stirring up drama? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and let's get this conversation going. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. We've got more deep dives and celebrity stories coming your way, so stay tuned, and as always, keep the conversation alive. Until next time.